Minnesota Original is made possible by the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.
On this edition of Minnesota Original, Toni Pierce-Sands and Yuri Sands of Two Dance engage audiences in their latest production at the Southern Theater. 3 jewelry makers and a painter meld creativity and friendship in their Northeast Minneapolis design studio. Emmy Award-winning composer and musician Peter Ostroushko tells tales of Ireland and performs at the Cedar Cultural Center. Next on Minnesota Original.
I would describe Two Dance as a company that ultimately is focused on celebrating a unique diversity. I think ideally what Toni and I are trying to do with our company is create a dance company that is reflective of the community in which it exists. And that's really a powerful message that we believe that the audience is able to kind of take from an experience with Two Dance in the theater.
How would I describe Two Dance? I think unequivocally they're probably the most generous, gracious dance company that we have.
I use this example about, if there's someone who just isn't able to get what is happening in an abstract way, close their eyes and they're digging the music, and they open their eyes and then they're seeing this movement and it takes them into the work. We all have different entry points to the work.
It seems to me that they've really made an effort to bring in audiences, I think Yuri even told me at one point, to provide access points throughout a concert with various types of work, so that people with varying degrees of understanding of dance might find some way in and then maybe experience something they're comfortable with, but also experience something new that might challenge them a little bit. And I think they're really good at that.
Ultimately, what Two Dance is about is how dance actually relates to you as an individual. It's about how it is relevant to you in your life and in what you do.
Yuri and Toni come out of the Elvin Ailey Dance Company in New York. And so their dancers have a technical proficiency that's quite remarkable.
Makes sense? Yeah. Let me see.
There's also a lot of emotion and passion in their work. I find that incredibly gratifying to watch and experience, and in fact, oftentimes sneak in to multiple performances, maybe just to see one piece over and over again, because every time I see it, it's different.
It's fascinating because there's people that never have seen dance and they come to see Two Dance and they start out going, I don't get this dance thing here, but let me tell you what I felt. And then they go into what they felt and what they experienced, and we're like,
you get it.
You get it. And this happens, I swear, it happens more often than not.
I think you come away from their concerts really thinking about, what have I seen and why has that affected me so much, and in what way has it affected me?
Right now, we're working on a work that's entitled Sensibility. Sensibility, the work itself, has to do with how the senses and the elements are related to one another. For instance, there's air and touch, there is water taste, fire sight, earth and smell, sound, ether. And I plan to, in this evening, is have the audience have a full sensory theatrical experience and give a perspective on a relationship between that sense and its corresponding element. For instance, there's Toni and Marciano are doing a duet, and that's air and touch. We have these fans throughout the space, throughout the venue, and they turn on periodically where you can actually see, let's say, Toni's costume blowing, but you can also feel the fan yourself in the audience, and seeing how the costume might get draped across her leg with the wind blowing one way.
Yuri does a lot of the making of the work. Toni does a lot of the shaping of the work and teases things out of Yuri and also rehearses, you know, fine-tunes it a lot. I mean, they're really, you know, symbiotic, I think.
So easy to work together,
Lord.
you know, with someone whom you're...
Tell the truth now.
Okay.
The joke is done.
I always kind of call it like a dynamic friction, you know, of working with your mate, you know, and when it's good, it's incredible.
Okay.
When it's not good, it's no good. I think the dynamic friction is something that can be healthy if one is able to sift through, you know, a lot of the extra stuff in order to kind of get the meat and the bones out of it, to not take it so personal, although it's all personal. You know? The vision isn't about, you know, a place for Yuri to kind of do his thing, you know, or where Toni can come around and do her thing. You know, the vision for Two Dance is really about providing opportunities for all people to experience the connective power of dance, whether it's through, you know, teaching, through the choreography of different people. Ultimately, you know, it's through this sort of cultivation, I believe, of this next generation of world-class dance artists. And we just want to do it here.
Most of our time as jewelers is spent crawling around on the floor looking for things that we've lost, diamonds and little bits of gold. My name is Emily Johnson, and I am a sculptor turned jeweler, and now owner and designer of EC Design Jewelry. Our studio is located in the Northrup King Building in Northeast Minneapolis. It's a great building in the Arts District.
Well, first of all, being a goldsmith, my hands always look like this. I have cuts and burns and dirt. I'm Britta Kauppila. I am a jewelry designer and metalsmith.
I think that we could probably all say we've lost a bit of our fingerprints.
Oh yes, for sure.
My name is Betty Jäger, and I am a goldsmith. I make jewelry for a living.
You know, my process is learning as I'm putting paint on. My name is Rita Van Allen, and I am a painter.
We get excited about things very easily.
Especially when it pertains to sparkly things.
Hey guys, can I put music on?
Yeah.
Sure. Emily, is this your mix? Yeah.
Sometimes you hammer in time with the beat. You find your groove. It's especially fun when there are two of us hammering at the same time, because then it becomes somewhat of a chorus.
Sometimes when I get here, when you get in such a zone, I don't even realize when the music stops. I would be here for 5 hours, and all of a sudden I stop, and I breathe. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go to the bathroom, and I'm starving. You know, and you don't even realize it. Emily is definitely the business leader of us.
She's like mama matriarch with the dollar signs.
She is, like, there's no doubt in my mind that she is going to succeed.
I think she's had that business sense about her for a very long time, and it definitely comes through. And I mean, your jewelry is phenomenal.
It's great to get advice from her and to learn from her. It's been a great role model.
Yeah.
Each of us has our own little space for showing and displaying our work, and this is my space over here. My work is mainly mixed metals, so sterling silver is what I usually use as a base, and then 18 karat yellow gold or 14 karat pink gold. My compositions tend to be pretty simple. I'm a big fan of asymmetry. I go pretty minimal, but then I also like to add a lot with texture. I've often heard it described as subtle but edgy. The hand-hammered textures, but then contrasting that with like a smoother gold, the different color. For me, I really love working with gold because of the color. There's so many different colors in gold. So it's really fun to play with that and just make different compositions. And I was originally a sculptor, so I mean, I think you can kind of see that in my work with my compositions and the way that I form it.
If you have good energy, keep going with it, because I mean, there's some days that you come here and you just screw everything up. Nothing goes your way.
Those are the days to stop.
Exactly.
If you're screwing it all up, it's time to take a break. Britta is the batteries of our studio. She's definitely our little Energizer bunny. Keeps us going, keeps us positive. It's impossible to be in a bad mood around Britta.
Well, this is my work here. I'm obviously very inspired by organic things. I love to be outside. And one thing I really love about jewelry that's always been drawn to me is the historical element. So I like to use a lot of old techniques such as kembu. This is a process of 24 karat gold over silver. That's an old Korean technique. I also love the interaction of jewelry. With earrings, there's always such a detachment, but with lots of my earrings, I like to think of how they're going to interact. And so these ones, they have a little jingle and a little sound to them, and so when you wear them, they're singing you songs all day. One thing as well is that you're really affected by the seasons. During the winter, I was making a lot of really gray, dark work, things that, you know, with the darkened metal to show off the texture, and then all of a sudden spring came, and I started working in things such as this. I'm like, color, green grass, oh my goodness.
A lot of making jewelry is having more than one piece going at a time.
What should I play with today? The chain, the nest, the cocoon, the pods.
Playing with my favorite tools, hammers. I have lots of hammers, and some of my hammers have names.
Betty is a very inspired person. She finds inspiration and from every little detail in life. She's very thoughtful.
One of my favorite hammers. It's the smallest one. I like to call her Svetlana. His name is Vlad. It's short for Vladimir.
You remind us that we want this to be fun, too.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely like, this needs to be like fun. We need to be laughing and listening to music.
And we need to be reminded of that every once in a while.
Everything I do is all hand fabricated, which means you're starting with a flat tube and you're heating it up and you're manipulating it to your liking. Hand fabrication is a different process than a lot of the mainstream because most larger jewelry stores do everything via casting. And casting is a cheaper, quicker, faster way to arrive upon a similar product. The main difference is the structure. Hand fabricating is a very labor-intensive process. The large majority of my body of work is created in sterling silver with accents of 18 karat yellow gold, 24 karat gold, and I also do the occasional custom design in palladium or platinum. I'm really inspired by nature, different textures. Metal is my favorite medium because it's so malleable, and then it comes to a point where it's so unbelievably strong. I really like taking something and making it look like something completely different. Taking a piece of metal and trying to transform it into looking like a piece of leather or a piece of asphalt or a rock.
We motivate each other a lot. It's just nice to be able to come to a place where there's other people working and other creative energy.
Well, like I said, you know, Rita's new in the studio, and we all have different hours. But one thing I really enjoy is coming in, like peeking in her studio and like seeing what's new. And everything that Rita does, it fits really well with all of us because there's like this feminine edge to it, but then there's this toughness as well. And that's one thing I really feel about Rita's work.
Thanks. So this is my room in the studio space. It's actually a separate small room off to the side, which works really well, so we're not mixing mediums. So these are a couple of the pieces in this space, and I have other works other places too, but this is kind of the ongoing work that's up. Everything is very narrative, so some of it's personal narrative, some of it is just creating a story out of, you know, bits and pieces of story. It's a little abstract, it's a little realistic. And the process, you know, I do a lot of just keeping sketchbooks, journals, and trying to constantly work and taking the work from my daily life. It's just been really enjoyable to be like around productive artists and
fuel each other.
Exactly.
Yeah. Once we knew we could work together, it just brought us a whole lot closer. And these are my sisters. I couldn't do much without them, and I hear these things a lot, but it still gets me right here.
See, we do this about once a quarter as well. I mean, like every big show afterwards, we're like, you guys, I love you.
We are 3 goldsmiths
and 1 painter,
and we are Minnesota Originals.
Migrate.
Now on mnoriginal.org.
Always have DJ'd in Stock and Feet if I can. So
I didn't know whether I was going to get away with it. Awesome. So now I'm renowned for walking around the building in my silver socks.
I'm going to do a piece called the Teelin Bay Waltz. This was a piece I wrote when I was in Ireland. I went there to do some research on the fiddle playing of John Doherty and ended up being in Teelin, which is on the very northwestern coast of Ireland in County Donegal. There's not a lot in Teelin, I can tell you that right now. There's a bay called Teelin Bay, and there's a fishing wharf that goes off into the bay. And I think I remember seeing a schoolhouse, but it was like one of those one-room kind of schoolhouse. And there was a pub. It's got to be a pub. But I spent one of the more amazing evenings in my life in this pub. I got down to Teelin in the afternoon, and it was absolutely empty. There were like 2 people in the bar in the pub. And long about 7 o'clock, people started showing up because they heard musicians were coming to town. And we started playing tunes, and in a place that maybe packed like sardines, it could hold maybe 70 people. And there were at least, by 8 o'clock, 200 in there. And that was an amazing thing to behold unto itself, you know, because I was in the corner with all these musicians, and but all the rest of the people were just jam-packed. And the bar was at one end, and the bathrooms were at the opposite end. And to watch how these people maneuvered when they were that tight was, I mean, it was beautiful. I mean, it truly was. It was like a modern dance, ballet kind of thing, you know, and no one dropped a drop. And they were all very polite, and everyone was part of the deal there. I mean, it wasn't like you guys and us guys. It's like these people came out to celebrate themselves. And no one, I mean, just because there were some fiddlers that came to town, and, you know, and there were a few accordion players and a few flute players, and but at some point during a break, someone said, "Rosie, stand up and sing us a song." And Rosie stood up. She was like about 95 years old, about 4 feet and a half, and the place got absolutely quiet, and she sang this unaccompanied ballad in Gaelic that went on for about 10 minutes, and I was noticing it's like the crowd was just stone silent, and tears were streaming down their faces. And I started crying. I had no idea what she was singing about, but it was this energy coming out of this little tiny old body. And she got done, and the crowd exploded, and she fell down back on the stool where she was sitting, and they wanted her to sing another one, but she had spent what she... And so they called over, "Sean, stand up and sing us a song." Sean was Rosie's older brother. Sean stood up, and he like came into town dressed. You know, he had on a suit and a vest and a tie. He was going to pick up chicks, I think. And he started singing, he sang in English, and he sang this long ballad about coming to America to fight in the Civil War. And I made a mental note. Self, remember to ask him which regiment he fought in the Confederacy. But he got done, and the place exploded, and there were kids. People brought their kids who were learning how to play, and everyone, if you had an instrument, you were playing. And it just moved me so much, because I remembered when I was growing up in Northeast Minneapolis that that's what life was like for me, growing up in the Ukrainian community, because the people that come from the old world, by and large, particularly if they're in a country, still entertain themselves, and music is a big part of that. And, you know, I grew up in a household where there were just jam sessions every weekend, and lots of great food featuring sour cream and pork fat and starch, and lots of great music. And as the old timers started passing away, my dad, one of them, he was a mandolin player, that tradition is gone now. And so it just really touched me to be part of that in Ireland. Although, you know, I wonder sometimes, you know, driving through the Irish countryside, you know, seeing these old thatched cottages and the smell of peat bog in the air and the satellite dish on top of the thatched roof, whether that is going to change over there eventually too. Hope not. But anyway, I got real melancholy about it, and out came this piece, which I called the Teelin Bay Waltz. Am I still in tune with you guys? That's close enough.
Coming soon to Minnesota Original.
This end grain is great. It's solid. This would be nice. I think we've got something here that can really be used.
Minnesota Original is made possible by the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.